Okay, and then if you're looking at Gen Alpha, it's more highly visual, interactive, short attention spans. But definitely, you really want to look at what's emerging and the economic influence. A lot of these Gen Z, they're an emerging workforce, and they are setters that are being followed. But you have to understand with Gen Alpha, you can have that age group really influencing family spending. I mean, they're younger, right? But you look at the the fluency. If a Gen Z, you're a digital native. You know how to use these devices. You've had them since you've been born. Well, this Gen Alpha generation, they're going to be the AI native, meaning that they're going to definitely understand how to use these AIs. And the core concerns for me, and I'm looking at Gen Z, is mental health, climate, and identity. What's your identity? Okay. Also, safety for Gen Alpha, the screen time. What kind of parental controls are in place? Now, the bottom row is a cultural icon. Now, this is anecdotal. You can look at it how you want. It just depends on your demographic. But overall, I think this list kind of illustrates the different generations and kind of their exposure to some of these types of platforms. All right, now this one, I had a slide here, but so the slide that I couldn't show you just now was about Douyin. What is Douyin? Douyin is the name of a China-based TikTok platform. And you can Google it.
It'll do you in.
Yeah, it'll do you in. Douyin. Now, let me tell you what Douyin also is. It's also the name of the algorithm. And they're using, so read this. It says Douyin's algorithm recommends content. It's a content recommending algorithm. And they're using a psychological model called the Johari window. The Johari window and a scoring formula. So this is their formula. This is a mathematical formula that they score in real time. Now, the thing is that I'm noticing about these apps, when you look at in the Asian world, a lot of these apps are doing the score in real time, every second, every minute. And then when you're looking at more of the American-based apps that are in this space, it's more like a weekly, daily thing. But if you really look at it, it's based on, if you look at this slide here, you're looking at hot tag, how popular the topic is. And then you have the relative tag, how relevant the topic is to the user. And then the frequency tag, how often the topic has been seen. Yeah.
What is algorithm?
Algorithm is basically a list of steps to do something. That's all an algorithm is. It's a list of steps on how to do something. And so this algorithm that you're looking at is a list of steps of how to recommend content to you, the user. This is broken down to the patent. This is the patent that is being used that is causing TikTok to be so addictive, and its sister app, which is Douyin. And so this is a real breakdown of how this works. And if you're a psychologist or you study psychology, you can go and research what the Johari window is, and that's what they're using to do this.
But Brother Hood, on TikTok, all you got is a bunch of people shaking their butt, most of it, and a few advertisements, and every now and then a political statement. But for the most part, it's just people dancing, and at least when I look at it, people just dancing, shaking their butts and stuff, especially the women. And
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. But if you have to look at it from a different perspective of age groups and some of the content that they're doing, but there's other content that you don't really see on your feed because you're not on that feed. So so your feed may look different than somebody else's. Okay. That's kind of what I'm explaining, basically on the content and how the algorithm works. And so this slide right here, but great point, Professor Ra. It is, your algorithm is going to feed you certain content, but it's going to be based on your friends, your followers, your neighbors, what you looked at. So basically, your feed is going to look different than somebody who's 16 years old. Mm-hmm. You follow me?
Yes.
And so now, when it comes to understanding how this works, you can create your own AI platform. But one of the things that you got to understand is you have different way of giving attribute or associating attributes to how digital media is presented to a person or to a user. So you got to come up with your own algorithm. And so there are lawsuits. And so I think TikTok is being sued now by this other company that does similar things. So that's one of the things. So I'm speaking more to developers on this side of things. There's all kind of ways that you could recommend something to a user, but some of the ones that we're seeing now are very, very powerful using AI. And so for me, what I would say is, if you're trying to go down this road, you want to learn about developing your own app or understand how all this stuff works, think of these big four development methods. Think of addictive design, where they have variable rewards, comments, viral boost. There's something called a Skinner box principle from behavioral psychology. You can utilize that. That's what they're doing now. Infinite scrolling and delayed discounting, infinite feed design. So hijacking your attention. So what it's doing is, there may just be videos that are just dancing, but they're actually hijacking your attention, minimizing friction, giving constant user experience. Okay, and you can become immersed in that. Okay, confirmation bias, that's another term. Negativity bias. Okay, this is when you have kids who are in a vacuum and they don't really know anything other than what they're seeing on their feeds. So psychographic profiling, because they don't really watch the news, they don't really, get information from other places. So these are some of the things that happen. Exploitation of adolescent development. Number 4. Let's talk about this. Teens are more susceptible to social feedback loops to brain development. So your prefrontal cortex, reasoning, long-term planning is still maturing. The amygdala, emotions dominate decision-making. Apps are intentionally designed to amplify peer validation. That's what's causing problems, the fear of missing out. So this part of it, you can really program this to be basically hyper social, overly social, where the kids are basically immersed in this. So steps that you can do. So if you're a parent, caregiver, somebody, educator, you just want to have this conversation, just understand, recognize how they work, ask yourself, why am I seeing this? Use not interested, report your algorithm, monitor your patterns. If you're feeling anxious, kids who are anxious, insecure, angry, sad, scrolling, stop and reflect, schedule breaks, use screen time apps, device limits. And it's not just teens. You have adults who just endlessly scroll. I mean, I've had students tell me, what do you do in your free time? You do anything else productive? Honestly, I just like to scroll. And you literally scrolling for hours in a day, every day. So disable personalization where possible. So by having your stuff personalized, you're actually basically giving the app the space where you should be thinking in, because it's actually feeding you. I mean, you know what you like, but there can come a point to where it's really showing you everything that you should be thinking in and using your own thoughts. Because over time, it develops a whole profile for you. And so you can also watch the movie called Social Dilemma. Great video documentary about this topic. Common Sense Media. Now, I would say with educators, parents, people, what I would do is just talk to your, people about it. Discuss online behavior. Enable youth modes, app timers. Teach you